Sparring night at Dallas School of Historical Fencing. Here I'm fencing Liam, and you'll notice that my sword looks a little bit different. I bought a real fetter. Before, I was fencing with fully bladed long swords, generally considered to be blunts. Though my Sigi King, though it had a full blade, it is not considered a blunt, it is still a fetter. And I still use all of my other swords, and I like them a lot, but the fetter is, it's just lighter and faster, it moves quicker, which makes me a bit more competitive, because that's what everybody else is using. So I wanted to have that tool in my tool belt and see what I could do with it, and I really like it. It changes up my game. It's a new thing that I can do, and it's giving me new tactics. So exploring the use of a more traditional looking and feeling fetter. In this bout, I'm trying to use some tactics and advice that was given to me by Coach Brandon, the guy sitting in the white chair stool thing over there. I'm working on having multiple intentions. So my first intention goes, and I'm not so committed to it that I can't change and go to a secondary intention. And when I fence Liam, this is a lot easier because we just kind of fence similarly, so we end up having these kind of multi-layered exchanges. It's really fun, but it was harder to pull off with other people.
That was close.
Good space, it's good.
Right here you can see the tactic where I go for a shallow target and then progress to a deep target after that one failed.
Full tap with hands. Keep going. Keep going.
What is this?
Yeah.
It's tippy. He's learned from a master.
Yeah, you're doing it. Nice. Oh no, this one's right. You get me? You get the hands. You get me? I missed my throw. Sure? Yeah. Thank you for trying.
Charles was a really difficult opponent. He would not let me close. This is something I've been struggling with for a while. Opponents who have really good long point game, keep their distance, and keep their point on me. I am struggling to get in on them, especially when they have good deceptions and they can pick off my shallow targets on the way in. So he was fighting in the knock, which means fighting in the after, and he was really waiting for me to come in so he could pick me off, and I didn't have the tools to deal with it until I changed my game about halfway in, and I started to work more in long point myself and stopped, playing his game. And after that point, I was slightly better of a challenge, but he still was dominating this match. If you notice, both of us are mostly aiming for shallow targets, so things like the hands and sometimes deep around the arms. There were a few shots to the torso, but not very often. Mostly it is attacking the shallow targets because we don't want to get close to each other.
It was a thrust. I saw the flex.
This is the point where I changed up my tactics on him and started doing more thrusting work, and it was effective. It's not like it was night and day, but I definitely started standing more of a chance. We both kind of accepted here that it wasn't really going to end, and we wanted to go back to fencing. But it was a really fun grappling match there. And now we fence Clark. Clark's great. Clark is the king of the Scheidel House, and today he was in top form, smacking me in the head and hands as I backed up over and over again. I hate my athletic cup setup. I really need a cod piece or something. I talked to Brandon afterwards, and it was ironic because what I was working on was being able to pivot from first intention to second intention and to back up and get out of there, when I felt like my ideas weren't working. Unfortunately, with the way that Clark was fencing in the knock, in the after, I needed to blitz in and get him, and I was being too cautious, which isn't usually my problem. So Clark needed a tactics adjustment that I wasn't aware enough to make during this bout. Honestly, like, this isn't an excuse because Clark's going to beat me either way, but my God, I was so tired this day. I had just driven and done a weekend workshop, and I haven't actually been home for more than 3 days in like a month and a half, and it kind of caught up to me tonight. One of the interesting things I'm finding about my personal fencing journey is I go to a lot of different clubs. I have 3 clubs I go to on a regular basis, and I have 6 or 7 coaches that I see at those clubs. And I have a number of other coaches and clubs that I go to whenever I can, and all of them have very different ideas of how to fence. I mean, there's some basics there. There's definitely crossovers, but there's different ways that people fence at each of these different clubs. So every time I come to a new club, I am the beginner again. You're fencing somebody, totally new with a new style. And what I'm finding is I am learning a lot and getting a lot of fundamentals and basics and a very wide array of different skills that I'm happy to do, but I'm not progressing as quickly as somebody who stayed in one club. And what I mean by that is if I stayed with one of these clubs, I'd probably develop an effective style using their techniques, and I'd be able to fence at a higher level against the other people at that club more quickly than I am right now while I'm traveling. But with my travel, I am building a basis to be able to fence against anybody from anywhere. Which, when you get to a high enough level, most people are able to do that. But I'm really enjoying the fact that I get to take in knowledge from a bunch of different people who are masters in their craft at different aspects of fencing. And hopefully what I'll be able to do is combine all of that together into what is most usable for my body and the way that I move. So while it's kind of frustrating not to see the progress I want right now, I think that in the future this is going to lead to me being a better fencer. And I'm happy to do it and bang my head into the wall until I get good. Thank you so much for your support. Those of you who are able to donate to our Patreon and YouTube memberships, we greatly appreciate that support as well. It helps us continue creating content like this, and it helps me fill up my gas tank as I drive nearly 16 hours a week to go do fencing and get good. So if you have the means to do so, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or YouTube memberships, or donate on a live stream, or whatever you can manage to do. It really all adds up and it helps us a lot. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.